And if you guys were betting folks that Calais Campbell was going to come here when we heard about the possibility of
Mm.
that last week, then you would have bet right because he's here officially. They
Yes.
made it official. The Falcons did today the signing of Calais Campbell to a 1-year deal, 7 mil with the possibility of going to 10 mil with incentives. And it's so interesting because we know things like the 99 career sacks, if you will, across 15 seasons. We know about the forced fumbles and the 4 defensive touchdowns and all those things. I saw an interesting stat today that I wanted to throw out there to you guys as well, just because it reminded me of the versatility that he can be, even if he's not an every down guy. But 8 blocked field goals. That is third most since the NFL merger. And for me, that spoke to versatility. So I'm going to use 2 V words, and I want you guys to react to that for me. So, versatility is the one word that I think of when it comes to Calais Campbell, but a lot of people think about the veteran presence. So, John, I want you to pick one of the V's. Jarvis, you pick the other V and tell me which one you pick and why that what does that mean when you hear Calais Campbell and that particular word in the same sentence?
Well, I mean, look, I think that his value isn't
Ah,
just
I
on
like
the
that one too.
field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his
Yeah.
value isn't just on the field, but in the locker room, what he means, behind. I mean, again, part of the conversation that Arthur Blank had with him in what sold him was a lot of the off the field stuff, right? So his
Right.
value is not just on the field, it's in the locker room, it's from a leadership role. And again, I will say, this is why I'd really like to get my hands on either Jalen Carter or Keon White, who's a bigger
We've
defensive
said the
end.
same,
Yes.
John.
Yeah,
Yes.
like
Absolutely.
I
On
would like
same.
to get, I would like those guys to come here
Hmm.
and be in the locker room with Calais Campbell and
Yes.
just learn from him and get that mentoring and different things like that. Even more than a Nolan Smith, because Calais Campbell's 6'8", 300 pounds. I mean, he's a big, productive guy. So
Hmm.
give me Jalen Carter or give me a Keon White and let those guys work with him and develop and learn how to master their craft and things like that. But his value is going to be not just on the field, but obviously in the locker room as well.
And I'm gonna go with the versatility piece, right? Because that's all we've heard from Ryan Nielsen, right? Like that's what he preaches. That's what he's coached. A guy like Cameron Jordan, who's kind of been that guy who can go between playing defensive tackle on pass rush downs and on first and second down, being that edge guy, and that's what Calais Campbell brings to the table as well. Now he's 37 years old, oldest defensive lineman in the league, so he won't be able to do that as much as he used to. But like John said, like the value of him being there and that versatility, being able to switch from being that edge guy early downs and being that run stopping type of guy, and he can slide down into that defensive tackle role when it's time to rush the passer. So I think that the value, the versatility, all those things kind of are coherent with what the Falcons are trying to do. We even heard Arthur Smith talk about that as well, as far as when he's talking about Kyle Pitts and the unicorn and moving him around at the X, at the Z, lined up at tight end, or he's got his hand in the dirt, blocking on first and second down. So that's what this team has been preaching. I'm just glad that it's finally coming to fruition and we're actually seeing it. Not only they talk about it, but we're actually seeing it. Now it's all the time. All they got to do now is just go out there and perform.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
listen,
let me just say, Tenitra, real quick. The other thing that this has to lead to is your other V word, victories, because that's what this
Yes.
all has to.
that's where I was
This is year
going
3.
with it. You got me. Yeah.
Yes.
You got me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say the same. And here's the thing: you're looking at it from a production perspective as well. 5.5 sacks is 5.5 sacks. That's a quarter, pretty much a quarter of what the Falcons came up with as an entire defense last year. So there's still a lot, to me, enough left in that tank to be to have some type of impact, if you will. To your point, John, to actually get victories, but also Jarvis, to your point, kind of set it up for that next generation. And it actually made me think, so like veteran presence, it made me think of another V, and that's Vince Carter. So when Vince Carter came into the locker room for the Hawks, really one of his jobs was to mentor Trey Young. And I can recall being in the locker room sometimes, and Vince was kind of like the last guy we'd usually interview because, hey, Vince talks in like books versus sentences. So, you kind of interview him at the end, but he was like this wise old sage, right? And there was just this level of respect that I saw Trey give to Vince, and Vince would always be in that locker room kind of giving him advice here and there, and you then see him put that into action in the next game or two. So I think that piece is important, having somebody like that who still has enough in the tank to be viable. And Vince Carter agreed to come back for a second season. Same thing for Lou Williams, by the way. Some of what we're seeing right now in Onyeka Okongwu can be credited to what Lou Williams was able to do with that second unit while he was here. So you do expect those types of impacts. And I think you guys would know even more than I, because I wasn't here at the time when Dwight Freeney was here, but I've heard such positives about the impact that he had on the guys in the locker room. So swinging it back from my example from, basketball and the Hawks back to an actual Falcons player, to me, it kind of harkens back to that. And I'm thinking, okay, all around, this is just an exciting and a great move for the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. Now I'm with you on that, T, because like the value that Freeney brought to that team, and not only the team, but just specifically Vic Beasley, because Vic Beasley, he was a one-trick pony, or remained a one-trick pony after Dwight Freeney left, and Dwight Freeney kind of showed us some things when it comes to the counter move, because hey, this is the NFL, dog. Like, you need more than one trick in the bag. And we knew that, Vic was going to go to that speed rush time and time again. And then Dwight Freeney said came along and introduced him to some life, a secondary move. Like, hey, man, why don't you try this spin move every now and then? You don't got to do it all the time. Just drop it in there every now and then, and you might end up at the quarterback. And that's what Vic Beasley did by leading the league in sacks, because at the end of the day, a lot of people talking about, oh, well, you're the mentorship. Yeah, I get that. Like, we need production from this cat. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need 4-5 sacks. Like you said, Chuck always talked about how, hey, we need 40 sacks. However you give the 40 sacks, you're gonna be in a good space at the end of the year. And I think that as long as Calais Campbell gets close to that number, that 3 or 4 sacks, I'm cool with that $7 million. But the thing about the main thing is, though, getting behind these young cats, right? The Arnold Ebiketis of the world, whoever they draft with the 8th overall pick. Hopefully somebody to put their hand in the dirt, and Jalen Carter, or even a Tyree Wilson if they want to go that route. So I think all of these moves the Falcons have been made. I really wholeheartedly believe that it's setting up for them to kind of draft a guy maybe that can, rush the passer with the 8th overall pick. Because when you think about the environment, that locker room with Grady Jarrett, Calais Campbell, David Onyemata, all those veteran guys who've been successful in the NFL, like, it's hard. It's going to be really hard. If they add to that room, it's going to be really hard for that young man to fail.
Yeah, I think there's two quick things that when they brought Dwight Freeney in, I don't think they expected very much production out of him as far as on the field goes. It was a lot of locker room and mentoring and different things like that. Calais Campbell's a guy that they look at that is going to help them on the field as well. Yeah. Now, I brought this up yesterday on the podcast that he played 14. He had 14 games, 14 starts last year. So he was hurt 3 games. 11 of those games, he played in 60% or more of the snaps for the Ravens. I don't think he gets to that kind of level. So I would naturally tell you that probably part of his production will go down some. But, even if he can contribute, whatever, 3 or 4 sacks, whatever. Again, we're trying to just build that number up to 38, 40 and become a playoff caliber defense. But they are, I think, going to rely on his ability, on the field, even more than what they did with Freeney back when they signed him.
Yeah. Well, John, my mantra on ATL Day Ones, and John, of course, is hitting hard with John Chuckery. I said it yesterday and I'll say it again. While I love all of the off the field community service and civic efforts, you guys know I'm about that. No, just get after somebody. Like, literally, just get home, no doubt, and let me see somebody on his back every down you're in there. If we could have our druthers. So,
but to be honest, we can deny all this that we want, but there is that Falcon filter. They have always gone after.
Oh, of course,
high character guys, and look, you've got Grady Jarrett and Calais Campbell. Those guys are Walter Payton Mans of the Year. There is a real strong influence in that locker room to get all of their young guys up, not just one specific guy, but get everybody to elevate, their game off the field, in the locker room, and really kind of provide that leadership.
Yeah. No, he definitely fits the bill. He fits the template, if you will, that we've
Yeah.
always seen in Flowery Branch. So couldn't agree with you more on that one. But I still just want to see him. Yep, yep. I'm gonna just keep saying it. Yep. I just want to go to a game and I just want to see some guy in the dirt, in the dirt, in the dirt come next season. But what
Yeah.
I also want to see this weekend is March Madness coming to an amazing end. If you're somebody who likes brackets that were busted, because brackets got busted all over the place, but it's going to be nail biting, whether it's the women's tournament, which I'll be watching, or whether it's the men's tournament. It is an absolute nail biter, but you can eat a Built Bar and that should settle you down pretty much. And you can go to builtmarchmadness.com and that should really settle you down because you could vote for your favorite bar. So if you're like me, if you like almond or churro or chocolate chip, or maybe you, or chocolate rather, or maybe you just like puffs. I don't know. Maybe you like puffs. If you do, that's a place for you to stop and vote for your favorite team, vote for your favorite bar, vote for your favorite puff. And you could be one of 50 locked on listeners who, if you do, you can actually get the free. So you get free Built Bars. And we'll pick one. Yes, you heard me. Just one. So one of you guys will be super duper lucky and you will actually get product delivered to your door for a year. How do you do it? You do it by going to builtmarchmadness.com. And don't forget, this is a healthy way to get over your stress, right? This is a healthy way. Or if it's a fun way and you want to celebrate another Braves win tomorrow, then this can be a fun place for you to do it because we're talking 130 calories. Look, the three of us, we're trying to get summer fine. So
No doubt.
that matters to us. We're trying to get
Shirt
summer
off
fine
season,
here.
baby.
Yes. And we've still got 15 grams of protein, which is awesome, and just 4 grams of sugar. So don't forget, you got to go to ATL Day Ones. You got to go to Hitting Hard with John Chuckery. But after you stop by our Locked On Sports shows, make sure you go to builtmarchmadness.com.